Hi class and welcome to week 3. Just as a reminder, I have posted your grades along with some feedback for your week 1 assignments. I sent out an announcement last week notifying you of that. And starting today, I'll go ahead and start grading those week 2 short answers to your quizzes, the lab, as well as your second forum. And just as a reminder, again, I'll start the grading for each week following the Sunday due date. So even if you submitted something last week, say on Wednesday for your week 2 assignments, I wait until all of the assignments get in by Sunday night, and then I start the grading the following morning on Monday. And that holds true if you submit something tardy as well. If you submit something for week 1, for instance, on Wednesday of week 2, I'll get to grading it on the Monday of week 3. Always the Sunday following when you submit it, essentially. So keep that in mind throughout the semester. And again, I'll do my best to get those grades posted as soon as possible, definitely no later than 5 days out. So by this Friday, you'll have all your grades for last week. And I'll send out another announcement letting you know when they're ready. And when you do, let me reiterate, please go back and review any and all feedback. Make sure that your grades are correct, feedback is applicable, and that you understand my feedback for a couple of reasons. Again, if you're doing something well, you want to make sure that you know it and that you continue doing that. And if there's something where you're making a mistake, if you learn about it early on, you can rectify that and make those corrections so you don't make them in future assignments, and you learn from those mistakes, and hence that is what we know as learning. And it's kind of the goal of our education, right? So make sure you look everything over. If you see a discrepancy with something, don't fret. Reach out to me so I can look into it further for you. If you have a question about your feedback, or you want more clarification on a particular feedback item that I left for you, what have you, talk to me. Let me know. I'm always here to assist, and I want to make sure that you get the most out of this learning experience over these next few weeks. And I'm just an email away. All right. As far as quizzes, I wanted to make a mention of the fact that the quizzes are closed book. I think there's a little bit of confusion somewhere along the line, but the quizzes are meant to actually test what you've stored up here based on doing the lab simulations and worksheets, as well as the chapter readings. And so the information you actually pull for your answers on this quizzes should be coming from your noggins, not from any outside resources, not from any websites, your textbook, lab worksheets, or anything of that nature. So make sure that you are not using any outside resources whatsoever when you take those quizzes, as they are closed book, closed resource quizzes. On to the forums. You guys did really great last week. There was a lot of good discussion, and I appreciate everybody's input. You all have so much to offer in the way of your experiences and your opinions, and you've done a lot of research to back up those opinions, and that's what the discussions are all about. And that was our first real discussion as it pertains to the course subject matter. And I want to commend you on a good job, and I want to encourage you to keep doing a good job and perhaps get some more dialogue going each and every week. And in order to do so, that's why I ask that everybody get their posts in by Wednesday or Thursday at the latest. If you get your original posts in early on, then we have plenty of time thereafter to actually get in and read and respond to each other's posts. And just like you would in a face-to-face classroom, if somebody comments on something you say or questions something you say, you would answer back. So same goes for this virtual dialogue area in our discussion forums. If somebody leaves you a comment or question on your original post, make sure you get back to them. Don't leave them hanging. You want to stare them blindly in the face in a face-to-face environment. So think of it in that regard when we're dealing with our virtual discussions. And don't forget also that you should be replying to a minimum of 2 of your classmates' original posts, preferably more, but that's the bare minimum. Again, I really want to see you guys engage yourselves with one another in these discussion boards. They're a great platform to get to know one another and really open our eyes to a great variety of perspectives. And also, don't forget that those perspectives and opinions should be backed up by research, because there is learning that's going on here to further solidify how you feel perhaps about something. So don't forget that you should always have sources to back up your arguments. And when you do use outside resources, make sure that you use direct quotes at a minimum. Very few words each, and less than 10% of your written work, and this goes for all written work, including your research paper, not just the form area, but any written work should contain a minimum of 10% of direct quotes. The purpose of doing research is to understand what you research so you can reword the information into your own verbiage. If you completely copy and paste another's work, even if you cite it properly in APA formatting, it tells me you didn't really understand what you read because you had to copy and paste it. But if you read it, understand it, and can redevelop that information into your own words, that shows me you actually learned something. And that's what it's all about. So again, in all your written work, please keep all of your direct quotes to a minimum, less than 10% of your overall written works. And when you do make a direct quote or paraphrase another person's ideas, make sure that you utilize proper in-text citations, quotation marks, and list any and all references. I have listed some great resources, especially those from the OWL at Purdue site, and that's scattered throughout the entirety of the classroom. And that lists some great resources on how to format properly in APA style. So check out those resources if you need assistance with APA formatting of your papers and forums. And oh, speaking of papers, the research paper. As I mentioned last week, that should be a project you're working on throughout the duration of the term. As a reminder, I've listed the instructions for the paper, including my grade sheet, helpful hints, additional resources, the OWL at Purdue information, etc., in the first week's lesson under the assignments tab. So click on that. It says research paper instructions, and that'll contain all the information you need to know about how to develop your paper. And again, try to be working on that now throughout the rest of the term up until week 7 when it's actually due. And that's all I have for this week. I want to say keep up the good work and make sure you go to the week 3 lesson link and read through that before you delve into your studies, as that's going to guide you on how to complete this week's assignments and give you the learning information you need to successfully complete them. So have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you again in about a week.